hay trabajo en el bosque de la lluvia, un desamparado se salvó por causa de una buena acción y hoy nadie lo repudia. Aleluya, 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 aleluya. Un ateo que consiguió creer y un hambriento y tiene de comer, y donaron a una iglesia la fortuna. Que la guerra pronto se acabará, que en el mundo al fin reinará la paz, que no da miseria alguna. Aleluya, 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 aleluya.
Ossining Padres Hispanos gives you the welcome. Thank you very much. It's very important for us, your presence here. That means a lot for us, because as a parent, we were so concerned. Our kids don't deserve this. They need better. It's time to change. We need change the law. Our kids deserve to go to school to learn, not to feel fear. Please, let's have a minute, the silence for all the kids who were victims of the kind of violence. I'm going to read the names of those kids. Alexandra Rubio, Alitia Ramirez, Ameri Garza, Anabel Rodriguez, Eliana Cruz Torres, Eliana García, Eva Mireles, Irma García, Jackie Casares, Sheila Silguero, Jaisel Luevanos, José Flores, Leila Salazar, Makina Lee Elrod, Meite Rodríguez, Miranda Matis, Neva Bravo, Rogelio Torres, Tess Mari, and Yusiba Garcia. I don't have words to describe the pain of those families. I can't imagine as a mom sending my son or my daughter to school and not to see them ever again. So please, we have to speak. We have to march. We have to protest, because that's not fair. Our kids are our future of this country. This doesn't happen in other countries. What's going on? We need to see. We need to find out what's going on, what we can change. I know we're not going to change this in a day, but we have to. It's time to sit all and try to figure out how we can solve this problem. We're asking 3 things today. More funding for schools so our kids can feel safe. We're asking for change the law to put restrictions to not to make easy to get guns. Why? Why is it so easy to go get a gun? Some cigarettes, you have to have age to buy cigarettes. Why a gun is so easy to get it? And also we ask more mental health centers. It's very important. In our schools, in our hospitals, in our towns, we have many families coming to me and asking where they can get help. Sometimes I feel my hands are tied because I don't have places to send them. Sometimes they don't have money. Sometimes they don't have insurance. If they don't have insurance, they cannot get the service. Our kids need mental health service. Please, the authorities are here. Please do something. Not only for the kids, for teenagers. I guess it's a tough time, but we need to change, please. So I don't want to keep talking because I know I have a lot of people here, they want to talk. And thank you so much. Voy a hablar rapidito en español. Muchísimas gracias a las familias que están aquí. Les agradezco del fondo de mi corazón porque estamos unidos como padres, padres preocupados. Queremos hacer un cambio y lo podemos, pero solamente si lo hablamos. Si nosotros nos quedamos callados, somos cómplices. Cómplices de lo que está pasando porque miramos nuestra cara y pretendemos que no pasó nada. Por favor, nosotros somos el futuro, los únicos que podemos hablar por nuestros niños. Así es que les pido que no sea esta la única vez que vengamos. Hagamos un cambio, pidamos a las autoridades que cambien la ley, porque sí se puede. Si nosotros estamos callados, no va a cambiar nada. Pero si nosotros hablamos, nos unimos, porque aquí los niños necesitan sentirse seguros en sus escuelas, ir a aprender, no a tener miedo a que un compañerito luego los ataque. Entonces, hagamos el cambio, pidamos servicios para que ayuden a nuestros niños con los programas de mental health, para que haya más clínicas de rehabilitación, psicólogos en nuestras escuelas, más trabajadores sociales que nos ayuden. Por favor, unamos todos como padres, como abuelitos, como tíos a una sola voz. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí. Thank you so much. And so then I'm going to pass to Marcela. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for taking the time to be here today. And we are going to move on with the program. So we want to invite our school superintendent, Ossining School Superintendent, Dr. Ray Sanchez.
All right, good morning, everybody. And I also want to take a moment to thank Ossining Padres Hispanos, for helping to organize this event. Please join me in giving them a round of applause. So I chose to write down my words, so I'll be looking up and down, so I didn't want to make sure that I captured all my thoughts and ideas. So first I want to thank the organizer of today's event, and thank everyone that's here today to ensure our voices are heard. To say that the past few weeks have been difficult for our nation and our community would be an understatement. Whether it's Buffalo or Texas, we've witnessed communities around the country become targeted, terrorized, and gunned down by acts of violence, taking the lives of children, teachers, community leaders, friends, family, far too soon. Here are some haunting facts. In total, there have been over 200 mass shootings in the United States in 2022. Approximately 100 people die every day due to gun violence across this nation. These are just statistics, but they represent the lives lost before their time. People deserve to live without fear of gun violence in what should be safe places like our schools. I am superintendent, but I'm also a parent. As a parent, every morning I wake up hoping to send my children to school with a smile and to have them return with a bigger smile than they left. I am thankful every day for the educators that care for my children. Likewise, as superintendent, I want Ossining families to know and feel that their children are cared for, that their physical needs and emotional needs are at the forefront of our minds. For parents in our community, I want you to know this. The Ossining School District works hard every day to keep students safe. We have specific measures in place for safety for all students and staff across our district. Furthermore, we are continuously working to improve those measures as we partner with the Ossining Police. Simply put, safety is the top priority, and we are committed to keeping our schools safe, welcoming places for all students and staff to learn and thrive. Moving forward, I call for sensible proposals that help to prevent the tragedies in the future. Unless we eliminate the easy access to weapons and increase the limited access to mental health care, then conditions that produce these horrific mass murders for educators and children will remain long after Uvalde, Texas, is a sorrowful memory. Just as there is urgency to provide resources for wars on terror, there must be urgency in preventing gun violence or killing and injuring our precious children. It is time that we show greater concern for protecting our children than for our gun rights. That time is now. I encourage us not to normalize this. Let us use every ounce of influence that we have to get something done to help prevent this from happening in the future. The time for thoughts and prayers alone are over. We need action, and I want to thank everyone for that. Thank you.
Very briefly, I'm going to try to translate that in Spanish. Buenas tardes. Primero y ante todo les quiero agradecer a los organizadores de hoy y de este evento por asegurarse de que nuestras voces sean escuchadas. En estas últimas semanas han sido muy difíciles en nuestra nación y en nuestra comunidad. Es difícil, y difícil es algo muy pequeño para poder describir todo lo difícil que ha sido, ya sea en Buffalo, ya sea en Uvalde, Texas. Hemos sido testigos de las comunidades en Nueva York y alrededor del país que han sido aterrorizadas a través de la violencia, de los actos violentos y extremistas de las armas de fuego. Han tomado la vida de nuestros niños, maestros, líderes de las comunidades, amigos y familias, y esto ya está muy lejos. Algunos importantes y bien factores que dan miedo. En los primeros 5 meses del 2022 hubieron 27 tiroteos en las escuelas, un total que ha sido sobre más allá de 200 tiroteos masivos en los Estados Unidos en el año 2022. Aproximadamente 100 personas mueren cada día debido a la violencia de las armas en esta nación. Estas no son solo estadísticas, son vidas que se han ido en un tiempo muy temprano. Las personas merecen estar viviendo sin miedo de la violencia de las armas y tener espacios seguros como nuestras escuelas. Él es el superintendente de las escuelas de Ossining, pero también es un padre, y como padre cada mañana él ve y despierta a sus hijos y los manda a la escuela con una sonrisa y espera verlos volver a la casa con una sonrisa tan más grande con la que se fueron. Él está agradecido todos los días por los educadores que toman cuidado y educan a sus niños. Igualmente, como un superintendente, él quiere que las familias aquí en Ossining sepan y sientan que cada niño se le cuida y que su necesidad física, emocional, está en la prioridad principal de las mentes de su trabajo. Para los padres y para la comunidad, él quiere decir que las escuelas de Ossining están trabajando duro cada día para mantener la seguridad de los estudiantes. Se han tomado medidas específicas en los lugares de seguridad para que los estudiantes y a través de todo el distrito se sientan seguros. Y todavía se sigue trabajando continuamente para improbar esas medidas o para mejorar las medidas que siempre se trabajan mano a mano con la policía de Ossining. Simplemente se pone de esta forma: la seguridad es la primera prioridad a la que están comprometidos a mantener en las escuelas, para mantener la seguridad y para que hayan lugares que les dé la bienvenida a los estudiantes y a todo el personal que trabaja para que sigan avanzando. De aquí en adelante, una llamada de propuestas sensibles que ayuden a prevenir estas tragedias en el futuro. A no ser que eliminamos el acceso fácil de estas armas e incrementamos el límite de acceso de salud mental, entonces las condiciones que producen estas masivas y horribles muertes de educadores y de estudiantes no van a continuar. Con urgencia estamos pidiendo estos recursos, porque es como una guerra al terror, y como urgencia estamos pidiendo que haya una prevención a la violencia de estas armas, para que dejen de matar y herir a nuestros preciosos niños. Es tiempo de que seamos más grande, que nuestra preocupación de proteger a los niños sea más grande que nuestro derecho por las armas. Y ese tiempo es ahora. No podemos normalizar esto. Tenemos que traer nuestra influencia por todas partes, en cualquier momento, por todos lados, y pedir que cada cosa sea hecha, todo lo que sea posible para prevenir que este tipo de cosas siga sucediendo. El tiempo de pensamientos y de oraciones solo ya no puede seguir estando ahí. Nosotros necesitamos acción, y la acción se necesita ahora. Gracias. Siguiendo con el programa, moving forward with the program, I'm going to invite Jessica Carpio. She's a social worker and a volunteer for Ossining Padres Hispanos.
Hi everyone, good morning. My dad asked me to speak a couple days ago when this first started, and my response was I don't have the words, I don't have the energy, I just didn't have it. And then this morning, right, coming in this morning, he said, yeah, please, you need to. My sister's an educator, and I called her and said, you need to come. And her response is, I can't. She drove up and she's here now. As was said, I'm a social worker. I do family therapy in the Bronx. And so a lot of the kids I work with see gun violence in the streets regularly. For this now to be an issue where they go to school, where they're supposed to be away, escape from all that, and it's not that anymore. The reality is they can't be safe at home, in the streets, in schools, is overwhelming, terrifying. It's too much. As I said, I work in the Bronx now, but I grew up here in Ossining. I love my community. I can appreciate the work and the efforts and the change that has been made to keep our kids safe. As we were getting ready this morning, saw a lot of the kids come up and take a look at the sign, see the faces of all those children, and recognize they're them, see themselves there. It's no longer enough to just have these marches, rallies. This can't be another moment where we spend this energy and have this time, a month, 2 months, 3 from now, we move on to something else. It can't be that anymore. As I mentioned, my sister is an educator, and she talks about the efforts made for her kids. I hear how she kind of has taken on so many roles, right? I know I heard Vicente speak about the mental health aspect and that coming in our schools. When I've spoken with the kids I work with and even hearing some of the kids there, it isn't necessarily something that's talked about. And the truth is, where do we begin to kind of talk with our kids about what's going on, right? This reality isn't anything we've been prepared for before. But but I would like to share something. My sister kind of spoke about her experience now, so she said she isn't ready, willing to come up, but she's a 6th grade science teacher, and she wrote, I'm about to finish my first year as a teacher, and so far, what I have been teaching my kids is 1, 6th grade science, 2, how to be a good human to the best of my ability, 3, what to do in case of an emergency like the one in Texas. Kids now are more aware, and they're able to read their teachers' faces of fear. There are many different protocols for how to handle any situation, while also staying calm and protecting our children in any way we can. As a teacher, I am being taught not only how to teach students, I'm being taught how to react quickly, how long I'm allowed to keep a door open until I keep it closed, until I hear from the loudspeaker that the lockdown is over. All of this can be prevented, yes, by having more mental support for mental health, but also speaking on gun control. It should not be as easy for a young person to obtain a weapon as it is for them to obtain cigarettes or drugs. While this is a hard time, my job is to ensure my kids are safe and growing not only as a student, but as a human and voice in their community. Again, to echo that, my teachers all over the country and in our town have this bigger responsibility of teaching, and from what I see, our youth growing up to feel they have that voice and are heard. So I do hope this isn't the last time we kind of gather here, and to kind of have our kids and teenagers and young adults feel capable and feel not hopeless, but that we can kind of make a change to continue to have these rallies. So thank you, everyone, for coming. So say a little summary in Spanish. Buenos días todos. Mi nombre es Jessica. Cuando mi papá me pidió que hablara aquí hace unos días, mi respuesta es no puedo, no tengo la emoción, no tengo la fuerza para venir. Pero hoy día llegó y me dijo, y vi niños aquí y me cambió todo. Vi a algunos de los niños parados aquí viendo la imagen de todos los muchachos y reconociendo que ellos son la misma edad, viendo ellos ahí. Como dije, soy trabajadora social y trabajo con familias en el Bronx, y bastantes de estos niños, la realidad es que ellos van en la calle, en la casa y ven las armas de fuego, y la realidad ahora es que entran a las escuelas y sienten ese mismo temor. No es solo en las casas, ni en las calles, ni por donde andan, pero en el lugar donde se deben sentir sin nada de miedo, ahí entran y ahora tienen ese miedo que a mí también la vida se va a acabar. Como dije, mi hermana es educadora y ella esta mañana dijo que no podía llegar, pero llegó, está aquí ahora. Y dijo, le escribió un poco de palabras. Ella es una educadora de ciencias en el 6º grado. Lo que ella escribió, estoy a punto de acabar mi primer año como profesora. Y hasta ahora esas son las cosas que yo he enseñado a mis niños. Número 1, la ciencia de 6º grado. 2, cómo ser un buen ser humano, lo mejor de mi habilidad. 3, qué tenemos que hacer en caso de una emergencia como de Texas. Niños ahora reconocen más, tienen la habilidad de reconocer el miedo en las caras de los profesores. Hay bastantes diferentes métodos en cómo podemos manejar una situación. Tenemos que estar al tanto de todo y mantener una calma para proteger a los niños. Como una profesora, yo estoy aprendiendo no solo cómo enseñar a mis estudiantes, me están enseñando cómo reaccionar Tengo que saber qué tanto tiempo tengo que tener la puerta abierta, laquearla, estar al tanto de todo hasta que escuche en el speaker que todo estamos bien. Todo esto se puede prevenir, sí, conteniendo más apoyo para la salud mental, pero también con el control de armas de fuego. No debe ser tan fácil para una persona joven obtener un arma de fuego, así tan fácil como comprar una cajeta de cigarrillos. Esto es un tiempo difícil y mi trabajo es asegurar que mis niños estén seguros y crezcan, no solo como estudiantes, pero también como humanos y que se sientan sus voces escuchadas en la comunidad. Con las palabras de mi hermana también, crear un lugar, una comunidad donde los muchachos, los niños se sientan no solo con miedo, pero capaces de poder salir, demandar cambio de los distritos y de los políticos. Gracias por venir.
We're going to have Aneira Mercedes, and she's going to speak Spanish only.
Muy buenos días a todos los miembros de la prensa, muy buenos días a todos los padres y madres, muy buenos días a los presentes. Mi nombre es Aneira Mercedes y en representación como madre preocupada, estoy frente a ustedes para exigirle mi inquietud como madre, exigir más seguridad en las escuelas. Hacer un llamado al superintendente Raymond Sánchez, a las autoridades, a los legisladores, a los gobernantes, que tomen precaria en este asunto. Hablo de dos cosas importantes. La principal es la seguridad de nuestros hijos. Principal también hablo por mi hija. Tengo una bebé de 8 años, la cual me preocupa la seguridad, yo mandarla y subirla al autobús. La verdad es que como madre me siento indignada un poco con la inseguridad que hacen en las escuelas. Pero también hago un llamado al Estado por más fondos en los centros educativos. Enfoquémonos en nuestros niños que son el porvenir del mañana. Pero también como nosotros como padres tenemos la responsabilidad de enseñarle valores, inculcarle valores a nuestros hijos, para que sean hombres de bien en el mañana. Exigimos al Estado más fondos. Sabemos que nuestros profesores hacen lo mejor posible, porque por nuestros hijos, por darle una mejor educación, pero la educación principal viene en el hogar. Nosotros como padres somos los responsables de enseñarle, inculcarle valores, de decirle cómo son las cosas. A veces nos dan señas nuestros hijos de que no se sienten conformes con la situación que está pasando tanto en las escuelas como personalmente. Nosotros como hispanos principalmente venimos a Estados Unidos por un mejor futuro. A veces queremos tener 2 y 3 trabajos, pero nos olvidamos de algo principal, y es la educación de nuestros hijos. ¿Saben por qué? Me llena de nostalgia, porque a veces queremos mucho dinero, a veces queremos 2 y 3 trabajos para salir adelante, vivir en un mundo de fantasía, de muchos lujos, pero no nos preocupamos por lo que verdaderamente importante vinimos a hacer: darle una mejor formación a nuestros hijos, tener más tiempo para ellos, porque de verdad eso es lo más importante, tener más tiempo para ellos, como madres y padres responsables. Aparte de nuestro trabajo, la educación principal que tenemos que tener en el hogar, formar a nuestros hijos para que sean mejores hombres y mujeres en el mañana. Ellos son la verdadera formación, o sea, los representantes, lo que nos van a representar en el mañana. Tantos niños inofensivos, tantas madres llorando en los buses escolares al subir a nuestros hijos por la precaria. Ayer fue en Texas, mañana puede ser en cualquier otro estado. Y como madre preocupada, me dirijo a todos los legisladores, a todas las personas pertinentes, que podemos juntos todos, podemos alzar la voz, y que esto solamente no sea un día, que todos los días luchemos por nuestros hijos. Madres, padres, aparte de nuestro trabajo, dediquémosles tiempo. Dediquémosles tiempo a revisar las mochilas con quien andan nuestros hijos, a inculcarle valores, porque sabemos que el bullying en las escuelas siempre va a existir, pero nosotros como padres somos los responsables de que esto no siga pasando, y que también los profesores, como bien repetí, los profesores son responsables y nos ayudan mutuamente bastante todos los días a nuestros hijos a desarrollarlos y a decirles y enseñarles, y lo protegen las escuelas. pero también nosotros tenemos que tener la obligación. Exigimos más personal en las escuelas, en las entradas y la salida de cada plantel educativo. Exigimos también el apoyo de la Policía Nacional, que nos ayude, que nos colabore en las entradas y las salidas. Como padres estamos desesperados, con miedo, con temor, con pavor de que nuestros hijos puedan ser también víctimas como fueron en Texas. Es cuanto y muchas gracias.
Anita had a call for safety and security in the schools. She called local and state authorities for funds to continue improving safety and security, and she called parents, because parents are the ones that they also have a responsibility to help, to love the kids, to give them time, to help them grow and flourish. And my words are just the 10th of the wonderful things that she said, and the huge call that she did for families to worry about the kids, to be with the kids, to love your kids, and to support and be engaged with the schools community and your local and state government. And now I'm calling Alejandra y Angelica Zuna from Ossining High School.
Buenos días, yo soy Angelica Zuna Guzmán y estoy representando Ossining High School y pedimos por favor que paren esta violencia. Please stop gun violence. Good morning everyone. I was asked to speak on this tragedy like 20 minutes ago. I represent the students of Ossining School District. To begin this talk, I would like to talk about what people outside of the country think of America. I go around and ask people, what is the first thing you think of when you think of America? The first thing is that they always say school shootings. I'm appalled about how this great country in this world can create an environment in which children, the future of America, can't feel safe. I like what the poster says next to me, fear has no place in school. It really does not. School is meant to build a foundation for the kids of America that have a better future. We need to stop the violence. Thank you.
As you may imagine, Ossining Padres Hispanos has many students all over all the schools, so we have one more student coming up. Another child and member of the Ossining Padres Hispanos, Hector Perez.
Okay, so the day after one of the tragedies, Mr. Hancock made a Zoom meeting and he had us stand in a moment of silence. And it was mentioned at the walkout that happened at the school. We don't need silence. While it is respectable, we need to speak. We need to act. We need to show everyone that it's a problem, because obviously they can't see it even though it's happening right in front of them. It could happen anywhere. It happened in Texas, it could be here tomorrow. And you would never know it until it happens. That's why we need to make stricter gun laws. And honestly, like, when I was doing lockdown drills and stuff in 2nd grade, I didn't think it would come to this. I didn't think I'd have to actually use them. I thought it was just like, oh, maybe like someone who's not supposed to be in school walks in. Like, you never think that's gonna happen, but it does. It's like terrible that it's come to that. I honestly just hate that it's come to that, if I'll be honest. Thank you.
And now we're moving with Colin Smith. He's a friend of ours, and he's the Westchester County legislator.
Got it. Okay. I don't know what to say to follow up on all the things that we just heard, other than to just really reiterate the fact that things have to change. Yep, we're gonna meet every time there's a tragedy like this. We're gonna make our voices heard every time there's a tragedy like this. But what needs to change is our laws. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Laws may not change a man's heart, but it can keep them from putting a noose around my neck." And that's what has to change. And in order for our laws to change, you want stricter laws, you want tougher gun control measures. We have some of the strictest here in New York State. And yet 10 days, not even 2 weeks before the tragedy in Texas, we had a tragedy in Buffalo, New York. So obviously, there's more work that needs to be done. And in order for that work to be done, we need to vote people into office who are going to take a stand and who are going to vote to change the laws. That's how we're going to see change. Thank you.
And now we have the pleasure to have Dana Levenberg. She's our Ossining Town Supervisor.
Good morning, Marcela. Thank you. Buenos días. Muchas gracias para tener me here today. Hoy. Lo siento. Community is here. We have our community together today, and we are so grateful for every one of you. When we look over here at these pictures, we see the community in Uvalde, Texas. And I hope that everybody can come over and look at each one of these beautiful faces that was lost to the community in Texas. We can't keep coming together for this reason. We have got to be done. Enough is enough. We need to pass absolute bans on assault weapons. Why do we need assault weapons? Who needs those? Do people need to have those in their homes? Do people need to have those in their houses? No. We need to pass common sense insurance regulations so everybody can have mental health support, so everybody can have health insurance. This is what we need for our communities to support our schools so that people can feel safe, so there is no place for fear in our schools any longer. We want people to be able to go to school to learn, to build our incredible communities, to build our Ossinings, our Peekskills, our Crotons, our Cortlands, and all up and down the Hudson Valley, our Briarcliffs. We need everybody here to come together and say enough is enough. We are done with this. We don't want to have moments of silence. We don't want to have demonstrations asking for no more gun violence. We just don't want it anymore. Thank you so much for everybody who continues to come out, but we don't want to do it anymore. We want to be here and sing and rejoice and love and be happy with each other and be happy with our children. We don't want to lose another child. We want these children to grow up to be our doctors, our lawyers, our legislators, our protectors, our religious leaders, and they can do this and they will do this if we can come together and pass common sense gun regulations that should have been in place years ago. New York State has very tough rules, but they aren't tough enough. Texas needs tougher rules. Our federal government needs tougher rules, and we don't want guns passing from one state to another just because they can. So we need to come together and teach the other states what New York needs to be doing and continue to do, and we're gonna do it together with your support. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dana. And you said something really part of our culture. We cry, we sing, we dance, and so sometimes when we feel really sad, we also take a minute to play music or to hear somebody singing. So we have somebody here too who is usually present in our events. And so we're going to invite you today to come over. Con nosotros tenemos a Mariano César.
se curó y no hay. Y no hay trabajo en el bosque de la lluvia, un desamparado se salvó por causa de una buena acción y hoy nadie lo repudia. Aleluya, 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 un ateo que consiguió creer y un hambriento y tiene de comer y donaron a una iglesia la fortuna. Que la guerra pronto se acabará, que en el mundo al fin reinará la paz, que no da miseria alguna. Aleluya, 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 porque la normancia del amor no gobierna la corrupción, sino lo bueno y lo mejor del alma pura. Porque Dios nos proteja de un mal final, porque un día podamos escarmentar, porque acabe con tanta furia. Aleluya, 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 aleluya,
Thank you so much, Mariano Celsa. Siempre están las buenas y en las malas con nosotros. You're always in the good ones and in the bad ones with us. And now, we want to have our Ossining mayor, Rika Levin.
We're not related, we should be. Very nice to see everybody, Mayor Rika Levin. That's why I say we're not, we should be. Just right. This is really all I have to say. This is it. This is one statement. I actually don't write my speeches. I do some bullet points. They're left in my bag. Because honestly, as a mother of two daughters who were born here, grew up here their whole life, are actually at my home right now. We were talking about this morning. I cannot tell you how painful as a mayor and an elected official it is to stand here and watch this young woman cry throughout this entire thing, holding that poster. It breaks my heart. I don't want to repeat all the things that were said. I want to say I agree with everything. And I think what can be done? What can we do as elected officials? The problem is guns. You know, there are too many of them and too many people who have such easy access to them. So we can all talk about all this other stuff. There are too many guns given to too many people, and it isn't just Ossining, okay? They are all over this country. When the mayor in New York tried to form a coalition of mayors to stop all of these guns from crossing borders, he couldn't get federal support for that. And that guy had Bloomberg had a lot of money and a lot of mayors with him. That is how powerful the lobby is. That is the absolute, excuse my language, asinine argument about rights. People come into this community leaving other countries. They immigrate, they want to work hard. They work hard. My parents, my mother was a seamstress, my father pumped gas. They work 12 to 15 hours a day. They want their children to be in a safe school. I spoke to Chief Sylvester, as many of you know, grew up in this community. I spoke to Superintendent Ray. Everybody is putting the right effort, but it is beyond just us. So I think as a mother, what can we do, right? We know how wrong this is, and all of you know that the argument about the rights to guns, to assault rifles, what are you doing? Are you shooting the deer with an assault rifle? What do you need all of this equipment for? It's, as Dana had said, it's such a ridiculous argument to be had. And the fact that the NRA met this week in Texas while this was going on without an apology is telling me that they are deaf, dumb, and blind. Period. End of conversation. And they're not going to help you. And if you believe in guns, I have many friends who do believe in them, but they take care of it and they understand the seriousness of a gun. You need to pass all these tests to drive a car so you don't kill someone. You don't need to pass those tests. It's harder to get a fishing license in most parts in this country than to get a gun. And I don't mean a gun. I really should be saying assault rifles, which has really been the problem that's been created. Secondly, I'm so happy that the people spoke before me spoke about the teachers. My mom got home 8, 9 o'clock at night because she worked as a seamstress in Queens. So we were alone, my brother and I, a lot of the time, like many people who are just trying to make it in this country. So our school was our haven. That is, to me, the life-changing place. I can name you the teacher, Mrs. Sesso, who changed my life, who said to me, one day when you're able to run for office, I want you to run for office. She changed my life. Our teachers should be having the money spent on their education, on their training, on their retirement plans, not on classes on how to protect themselves and their children. They too are in danger. Who's going to become a teacher in the next 20 years if what they have to worry about is how to lock down doors and have the right windows and how to tackle somebody with a knife or gun? Who is going to be our next generation of Mrs. Sessos like the woman that changed my life? That really worries me. So I'd like to ask you to do 3 things, because for those of you that know me, I'm a very pragmatic person. Number 1, Colin and Dana are right. Vote for people who support what you want. More importantly, vote them out when they don't. Period. Vote them out. Find anyone else who will do what you want them. Vote. Incumbents have a great gig in Congress. They really do. That's why they stay so long. Start organizing with national organization and vote them out. Period. Number 2, we teach our children every day about bullying, about God, about family, about siblings, about also, everything, right? We need to have conversations. I think about that 18-year-old who went 3 hours to Binghamton, a place where many of our children go to school, who was from Binghamton, a place where many of our children go to school, could have driven 3 hours south to here, because that's about what it takes to get here. It could have just been us, 3-hour drive, this lunatic, okay? So the second thing I'd like to ask is to speak to your children openly and honestly. Just a couple of days ago in the city, a young woman reported her boyfriend for carrying a gun to the school. He listened to her and left the gun outside the school, not to come into the school, but she still called the police, not because she had anything against him. She was really concerned. We're not going to read a lot about those girls that do that or those boys, but talk to your children, because they must know, kids who are angry, who are upset. COVID, I'm sure, has set off a lot of bad feelings that have been harboring in young people. So please talk to your children the way you talk about other things. And the third thing I'd like you to do is really form these coalitions outside of New York. New York and California and Colorado actually have great states, but our problem is a lot of this is coming from other parts of the country. And there are a lot of national coalitions. I'm not going to promote any single one, but I'm telling you that there are lots, and I'm sure this organization knows of them, and go and start joining some of the national efforts. I thank you for being here. I thank you guys for coordinating all this today.
Thank you so much, Mayor Levin. We're going to have Ramon Fernandez. I know that the time keeps rolling. We're going to try to keep it to 2 minutes. I'm going to put you right after. We have el concejal de Peekskill, Ramon Fernandez.
Thank you. I am a person who was very active in social media. From the thing that happened in Buffalo, and then this thing happened in Texas, Uvalde, I could not start to write anything in my social media to say how angry I am. But because every time that I start to think about it, what I'm gonna say, I start to cry and lose my mind. Last Thursday, I went to my daughter to her doctor appointment, and she was so mad to take out from the school. How she loved the school. And then was mad with me because she said, "Can I come back to the school?" And I said, yes, if you have a time, you come back. And we did it. She had a time, and we got the permission to go back to the school. And I was talking to my wife to say, remember all the kids that day, and I was afraid. That was the right time to think about it, to be, did I did the right thing? I don't think that we should, as a parent, have to think about in that situation. That we didn't feel safety in our school, even it was so far. But we know, like many people say over here, that could happen here locally in our school. We don't know. So there was a lot of work to happen over here, and I want to say something. I am proud to be born here in USA and grew up in another country, in Dominican Republic, and go to the school over there. Many of us was officially elected that we are here, even who went to the school system here in the United States. You never have that feeling like our kids having now, because it didn't happen before. So why here in our country? Should not happen. This is a great day, I say, to start it. I think I heard the word enough is enough. So tomorrow is a Memorial Day. And we're gonna remember all the people who passed and defend our great nation. We invest a lot of money to defend our democracy. But I don't think that we can have a board that we can show how many kids from the first shooting, school shooting, to show the name. I think we don't have a space over here to show all that name. They deserve to have a Memorial Day also. But they deserve, like everybody say, action. Action, and that's it. We need to maybe choose a day to say enough is enough of shooting violence in the school and everywhere. We need to maybe appoint one day locally. Maybe we are here and we can start to be doing something locally in the town and the village and the county and our neighbor city, and start to do something in day like this. Because 3 years ago I was doing the same thing in a video in Peekskill. You remember El Paso, you remember what happened in California, you remember what happened in Vegas. Similar like today, it was a few days 1-to-1. So I think that we need to make an action and start to be working in that. I was trying to say it in Spanish, I don't know if I can say something short in Spanish, but okay. Yo solo quería decir que no nos merecemos estar preocupados los padres por enviar a nuestros hijos a la escuela. El pasado jueves pasé una experiencia de ir a buscar a mi niña a la escuela, ella a una cita médica. Y ella, que le adora y ama su escuela, quería volver a la escuela. Y de verdad que hablando con mi esposa sentí el miedo de decir, cuando le devolví a la escuela, yo hice lo correcto, viendo la situación que pasó en Texas. Pero creo que ahora que es el día que vamos a recordar, el día del Memorial Day Weekend a todos aquellos que defendieron la nación. Creo que también es momento de empezar a decir, necesitamos recordar a todas aquellas víctimas, niños que han perdido la vida por la violencia y decir basta y tener acciones. Muchas gracias.
Muchas gracias. Por último, bueno, antes de lo último, invito a la representante de Ossining Town Council, Jennifer Tawil.
If you can, I'd appreciate it if you can translate for me afterwards. I will not. I don't want to talk about feelings or opinions. I want everybody here to take out your cell phone right now. Everybody take out your phone if you want something to do when you leave here today and not just go home and feel like there's nothing else to do. Everyone here, I want to see your cell phone out. I want to see you go to Google and look up Know the Signs. If you know me, I have been talking about the Sandy Hook Promise program called Know the Signs for at least 10 years now. My daughter was 6 years old when Sandy Hook Elementary School violence occurred, the same age as the students that were killed. They have come up with a program that you can tell your child's school principal, I want this program started in my school now. It is an actual program. They have developed it over the last 10 years since Sandy Hook, because now my daughter is 16. And it is something of an actionable thing that you can do when you leave here today. And if your child is no longer in school, then you email the school district of wherever they go to school. And guess what? If you know children outside of New York, if you have nieces and nephews, you tell your family members to tell their school principals that they need to start following the program called Know the Signs. It is not difficult. It is a program that has been established over the last 10 years after the Sandy Hook massacre. It is to be able to, like Rika said, understand which students are struggling. And we're not just talking about high school students. It's every age, K through 12. Again, take out your phone now and look up the program, Know the Signs, from Sandy Hook Promise, and send your school principals an email today. And tell your family members to send their emails to their school principals today. That is something very easy that every single one of you can do right now.
Thank you, Jennifer. Ella dijo que no traía, ya está seca y no traía más sentimientos ni tampoco iba a dar opiniones, pero sí lo que iba a pedir es que cada uno tome su teléfono o cuando llegue a su casa, si no lo tiene como yo, tome su teléfono y vaya a Google y busque ahí un programa que se llama Know the Signs, que quiere decir conozca las señas o los síntomas. Este es un programa que se llama Know the Signs Promise, es una promesa que empezó hace 10 años atrás cuando ocurrió el tiroteo en Sandy Hook Elementary School, en la escuela elemental de Sandy Hook. Ella se acuerda que su hija en ese entonces tenía la misma edad de los niños que sufrieron ese terrible asesinato. Este es un programa que se desarrolló hace 10 años atrás y que en este momento se puede traer a las escuelas. Si ustedes están interesados en traer y hacer acción en este momento, busquen ese programa y mándenle un correo electrónico a su distrito. Si tienen familia fuera de Nueva York, avísenles de este programa para que lo puedan seguir usando. No es solamente en Nueva York, es para todo el país. Ese fue su mensaje.
Thank you so much for this. It would be nice if you could or translate in Spanish the program will be awesome. You know, just a suggestion. Thank you.
See, sometimes from something bad can come something good. So it was just suggested that this wonderful program could create access in Spanish, so it could also be a little more accessible for us. And right now, our last, before me, speaker, it's Lucy Notaria, or Notario, Lucy. Dos minutos.
So, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lucy Notaro. I want to first thank Ossining Padres Hispanos for having the responsibility and the courage to create this event. I also want to thank everyone for coming. I am a bilingual social worker, and I am here to support your efforts here. I am also a member, an executive board member of the Suffolk County Hispanic Advisory Board. So we are here to lend you our support. We will also be putting out a statement regarding what has happened. So we have 2 minutes. I'm going to do it in English and Spanish really quickly. I am one of the clinicians that have taken the responsibility to offer mental health services to persons in our community. I was right across the street, and I'm up in Mount Kisco. And this is part of what I would like to offer in the short time that we have. We cannot be angry with each other. The violence that we have experienced, the trauma that we have gone through with COVID has pitted one human being against the other. We cannot attack the persons that are here to help us, such as law enforcement, such as our educators, such as our neighbors. I am imploring everyone here to help rebuild the fabric of our society that has been deteriorated because of the violence. And unfortunately today, we are here to discuss the violence that has been happening around the world and that has touched us locally. And one of the issues that I discuss and that I invest in is violence in the home. So, just as has been said before, there are families, there are children that are taking the risk to come to our great country to seek safety, to seek education, to seek healthcare. And they're experiencing the trauma that they have gone through all over again. So my brief request, because a lot has already been said that I had been prepared, that each one of us take responsibility, look at ourselves. What can we contribute to rebuilding our communities, our sense of family, and the fact that we are responsible for each other as human beings and as a community? How are we going to rebuild our emotional connection to each other? It is not us against anyone else. It is us together. So on my Facebook page, and I'm so grateful for Senora Ana for always inviting me to join the efforts. I believe in the work, I believe in Ossining, and I believe in us as human beings. And please, you know, my humble request is that we look at each of the segments of society, so many that are represented here. How can we join together? Sit at the same table and look at the problem, look at what solutions we can provide, and then advocate for funding and efforts at the federal, state, and local levels, but then be part of the solution. It is not someone else's responsibility. It is each and every one of us that are here, that are part of this community, to rebuild and address the problems. So I'm going to say that in Spanish, and again, thank you. I am here in the most humble way possible. I have much more to say, but we just don't have the time. So, buenos días, señores y señores. Mi nombre es Lucy Notaro. Soy una trabajadora social bilingüe y forense. Estoy aquí humildemente y le quiero dar las mil gracias a la organización de Ossining Parents Hispanos por tomar la gran responsabilidad y tener el valor de organizar esta acción. Ya mucho se ha dicho. También soy parte de la Junta Ejecutiva del Condado de Suffolk, el Hispanic Advisory Board, y estoy aquí en una capacidad informal para apoyarles. Bien rapidito, mi opinión humilde es que todos aquí no es nosotros contra nadie. Están las policías aquí presentes, ¿para qué? Para protegernos. Están los maestros, están los trabajadores sociales y están las personas que nos representan, que nos apoyan a tener una voz. Todos nosotros escogemos estas posiciones. Nosotros que estamos en estos puestos, que aportamos tanto de nuestro corazón para ayudar a nuestra sociedad, estamos derrotados, devastados. Nos sentimos impotentes, porque tanto que colocamos, tanto que tratamos de ayudar, y entonces pasamos estas tragedias y decimos, wow, ¿y ahora qué puedo hacer yo? Ese es mi breve mensaje hoy día, por favor. Que no vamos a decir que la responsabilidad queda al prójimo, no para nada. La responsabilidad queda en todos nosotros, en volver a tejer nuestra comunidad y tomar nuestra comunidad de nuevo, porque la violencia y el trauma nos han derrotado todo. Tenemos que crecer de nuevo. Somos seres humanos y de verdad somos seres humanos que somos familia. Todos somos familia y tenemos la responsabilidad de cuidar al prójimo. Entonces, muchísimas gracias, que pasen buen día y gracias por el esfuerzo.
Gracias. Queremos también, antes de decir que vamos a empezar a marchar, queremos darle o reconocer las personas que están presentes. Tenemos a Lisa Radley de la Junta de Educación de las Escuelas de Ossining, Roger Bachataria, allá está. También nuestro retirado, jubilado, principal director de la escuela, el señor Flores. También queremos agradecer a Westpac, que nos ha ayudado a repartir la voz acerca de nuestro llamado a acción, y también a New York Immigration Coalition, y eso me hace pensar que estábamos dejando atrás a una persona que siempre ha estado en nuestra lucha de inmigración con nosotros. Así que tenemos un minuto para Vanessa Agudelo y su mensaje. Did they speak in English or Spanish? I forgot. Español. So I was just saying that we noticed that there are people in the audience that we wanted to recognize, and among the people from the PTA and board members, we also want to thank people from Westpac and New York Immigration Coalition, and among them we saw Vanessa Agudelo, who's always been with us in the struggle for immigration rights. So here we have 1 minute for Vanessa.
Gracias, Marcela. Buenos días, todos. Good morning or good afternoon at this point. My name is Vanessa Agudelo. It's hard. It's really hard being here these last couple weeks that we've had to endure with so much violence here in our state, but across the country. There's so much that's been said, and I really don't want to repeat everyone, but I think the thing I want to echo right now is, the reason why the NRA lobby is so powerful in this country, and the reason why this country is known as the gun capital of the world, because it was mentioned that this is the only country on the globe where we have more civilian guns than people. The only country in the world that has more civilian guns than people. This is a sickness, this obsession with guns that we have kind of ingrained in our society, and it's been racially motivated for a very, very long time, and it's because lobby groups like the NRA and big gun industry care more about their profit than about the lives that they're taking with the guns that they're selling. And that's why we really have to take a look at what money in politics is doing to our country. Because what we need instead of what we have is real gun regulation. We need to regulate the industry. This industry needs to be liable for the lives that are being, the senseless violence that's taken place via the equipment that they're selling. Because if they were being held liable for these lives, they wouldn't carelessly sell guns to just anyone off the street. And that's what we need. We need elected officials who's going to stand up to the gun industry, say enough is enough. We have some of the strongest gun laws here in New York State, and yet we had a mass shooting up in Buffalo. Legislation wasn't enforced, is what we're hearing. We knew that this person had issues, that the police had been made aware of mental health concerns. He should have never been sold a gun. So we need to do a better job about enforcing our legislation. If our legislation isn't working, then we need a better approach. We need to be open to new ideas, and we need to regulate the industry. We need real common sense gun reform, and on top of all, we need funding for the communities that are closest to the pain. Because there's communities who are grieving, family members who are struggling to be able to hold it together, and we need funding, we need resources, we need mental health access so these people can heal, and so communities can move past the violence and know that there are other alternatives. Thank you so much.
So with that, we are gonna have a little closing words, and we're gonna invite you to follow our friend here who is gonna lead the march. We are big in heart, and we are big we have a lot of passion about this topic. So we may not be thousands, but we're gonna make a statement today on our streets. So, and forgive me, I started writing this in Spanish, so I'm gonna do it in Spanish first. So I don't really know how Google Translate did for me this time. So, Estados Unidos es el único país desarrollado donde se repiten implacablemente los tiroteos de las escuelas, escribió un periódico en Francia. Lo que queda por escribir todavía son las emociones y el trauma que trae sobre los sobrevivientes, ya sean niños o adultos, sus familias, sus pueblos y en general todo nuestro país, que tiembla por la impotencia de ver que no se hace nada para proteger a los inocentes niños una y otra vez. Esta vez fueron 19 niños y 2 adultos, a los que nuestra cultura de las armas por encima de todo les quitó la vida. Aceptamos y continuaremos viviendo con la segunda enmienda, que nos da el derecho de portar armas de fuego. Aunque algunos consideremos que este es un derecho que amenaza el derecho a la vida de nuestros niños, jóvenes y minorías en un mayor porcentaje, pensamos que si hay regulaciones de sentido común, podríamos vivir tranquilos con esta enmienda. Una de las proposiciones de sentido común que yo propondría es registrar todas las armas de fuego. ¿Y por qué no? Cada uno de nosotros registra su vehículo, que es usado para movilizarse. Para manejar este vehículo, debo tener una licencia de conducir. Para eso tengo que tener una edad. Cuando hablamos de un arma de fuego que fue creada para disparar, con más razón debería ser registrada. Y el dueño debería tener licencia. Debería tener una edad mínima de 21 años, como la edad a la que se permite beber alcohol, mínimo. Remover estos rifles, que de una carga pueden alcanzar hasta 100 tiros o más. Todo esto es sentido común. Por eso hoy llamamos a nuestros legisladores estatales y federales a continuar con la iniciativa de hacer cambios relacionados con la regulación de las armas. Pedimos una regulación más estricta, educación social sobre las armas y más ayuda en el área de salud mental. Reconocemos los esfuerzos de Nueva York
y otros estados. Pero se necesita una regulación mínima que sea efectiva y colectiva en todos los estados del país. En Ossining estamos agradecidos de los esfuerzos de seguridad de las escuelas y de la participación activa de nuestro departamento de policía con el pueblo. En las escuelas vemos el aumento de elementos de seguridad que se han incrementado durante estos últimos años. Entendemos que todo está ligado con dinero y presupuesto. Es aquí donde urgimos a nuestros líderes estatales a mantener en mente la vida de niños y a considerar más presupuesto para seguridad de nuestros edificios. A nuestra policía queremos decirles que confiamos en su profesionalismo y entrenamiento liderado por el Chief Sylvester. Sabemos que nuestros niños son sus niños. Nos da gusto ser vecinos y amigos. Se les agradece por las iniciativas desarrolladas para integrarse con la comunidad y hacer sentirnos seguros. The United States is the only developed country where school shootings are relentlessly repeated, was written in a newspaper in France. What remains to be written is the emotions and the trauma that it brings on the survivors, children and adults, their families, the people, in general, our entire country that trembles from the impotence of seeing that nothing is being done to protect innocent children over and over again. This time, there were 19 children and 2 adults whom our culture of weapons above all else took their lives. We accept and will continue to live with the Second Amendment, which gives us the right to bear firearms. Although some of us consider that this is a right that threatens the right to life of our children, youth, and minorities in a greater percentage. We think that if there are common sense regulations, we can live calmly with this amendment, or we could live calmly with this amendment. One of the common sense propositions is to register all firearms. And why not? Each one of us registers our vehicles, which are used to get around. To drive our vehicles, we must have a driver's license. When we talk about firearm that was created to shoot, all the more reasons it should be registered and the owner should be licensed. He should have a minimum age of 21 years of age at which drinking alcohol is allowed. Remove these rifles that can fire up to, and even more, 100 shots from one charge. All of this is common sense. That is why today we call on our state and federal legislators to continue with the initiative to make changes related to the regulation of weapons. We ask for stricter regulations, social education about weapons, and more help in the area of mental health. We recognize the efforts of New York and other states, but a minimum regulation is needed that is effective and collective in all the states around the country. In Ossining, we are appreciative of the safety efforts of the schools and the active involvement of our police department with our town. In schools, we see the increase in security elements that have increased in recent years. We understand that everything is linked with money and budget. It is here where we urge our state leaders to keep the lives of children in mind and to consider more budget for the security of our buildings. To our police, we want to say that we trust your professionalism and training led by Chief Sylvester. We know that our children are your children. We know that we are your neighbors and your friends. We thank you, and we thank the initiatives developed to integrate with our community and make us feel safe. So, with this, Anna is going to take the lead with our neighbor, and we're going to try to go on Spring Street. I think the police is still here and is going to help us. Police is ready. Thank you.
Thank you for your words.
No le diste y no se reunió.